Good evening and welcome to Hudson Valley 6. The September 10th Republican primary race between Joe DioGuardi and Sue Kelly is 2 weeks away, and still no debates have been scheduled. Tonight we'll talk to one of the candidates hoping to win that primary. We'll speak with former Congressman Joe DioGuardi about his stand on the issues and why he seeks New York's 19th Congressional District seat. That's next on Hudson Valley 6.
Hudson Valley 6, a comprehensive look at the issues facing the Hudson Valley. Brought to you as a community service by U.S. Cablevision.
Welcome. We're talking to former Congressman Joe DioGuardi, and we do want to tell our audience that we have been speaking to the Kelly campaign for the last month, trying to secure a debate, and they have not been able to secure a time, and finally the other day they said that they would not be able to make it. That's why Congresswoman Kelly is not here, so we invited Mr. DioGuardi, so we decided to keep the appointment. It's nice to have you
for doing that.
Well, we wanted to get the issues out. We were hoping we could get both candidates here, but she wasn't here. Why do you think there's been no debates?
She's running. She's hiding. This is typical of what Sue Kelly did in 1994. You know, there's nothing more important in America than an election. It's when the rubber hits the ground for democracy. It's voters choosing their representative. We started this race back in February, and we heard from the Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, and he says, Joe, my friend, please, don't run in this race. We want to be sure we don't lose the seat. And I said, Newt, you know, you're my friend, you're Speaker of the House, you're a congressman from Georgia, but you're not a voter here in the 19th Congressional District. Let the people here decide. That's what Tip O'Neill said, another speaker. Politics is local. So now that we're in this race and we've shown that we've got the staying power to be right here with 2 weeks to go, you would think that we would have a debate. We've asked for debates at any place on any subject, and still we don't find Sue Kelly. You might ask why. Okay. Well, ask Sue Kelly why she hasn't published her tax returns.
Well, let me just ask you something on the debate first so that we can clear that up, because people want to know. Their response was that she's up in Washington and that she doesn't want to use taxpayers' money to debate. She doesn't think that's a good use of it. And then when she got back, her schedule was booked, and then she said that there's another candidate in that's a minor candidate, and they wanted all three candidates there. Just respond to that, because that's the reason.
A lot of excuses. You know what my mother taught me? Excuses are for losers. When you want to do something, you make it happen. Why do you think they have recesses prior to Labor Day? They know that there are primaries around America. They provide the time for constituent service and also time for you to make your case to your people as to why you want to go back to office. It's very American. It's democratic. Why isn't Sue Kelly doing it?
Well, that's the question I asked you. You know, I mean, they must have a political strategy, or they obviously can't.
Well, she obviously,
or they can't get here. I mean, you know.
Well, one could speculate, but let me give you the bottom line. She wants to be a stealth candidate. She thinks by sending you her frank mail and telling you what she thinks of herself, not looking at what you think of her, if she keeps sending you that mail and she hides behind her campaign people, that she'll make it past Election Day. Well, I've got news for Sue Kelly. That's not going to happen this time.
What are the issues that you feel you are similar with Sue Kelly on, or what are the issues that separate you, that makes you think that you would be a better candidate for the 19th District?
Well, let's talk about the differences. The social agenda is so radically different for Joe DioGuardi and Sue Kelly, it's hard to believe. It reminds me of my race with Bella Abzug back in 1986. Don't forget, I had to debate the woman with the hat, Bella Abzug, 11 times. So I know a liberal when I see a liberal. Sue Kelly's vote.
Now, you're saying a social liberal, because fiscally, I mean, obviously, she stayed with Newt Gingrich on a lot of the issues.
Yeah, but Terrence, it doesn't add up. Let me talk like a certified public accountant. How can you be a social liberal, a radical social liberal, and vote for the programs that Sue Kelly voted for, which cost money? Partial birth abortions, ninth-month abortions cost money. Taxpayer funding of abortions overseas in military installations costs money. The pornographic art segment of the National Endowment of the Arts, which she supports, costs money. So many things down the line for these social programs cost money. You can't say that you are a fiscal conservative and vote for that kind of agenda. because that's the agenda that Bella Abzug voted for. So
now,
it's a contradiction in terms.
Okay, you're talking about the National Endowment for the Arts. You're saying that she voted to secure funds for that?
She voted not to cut the National Endowment of the Arts, that segment that most characterize as supporting pornographic art. And I think that's wrong. I would have, not only would I have voted against that segment, I would have voted to eliminate the National Endowment of the Arts, because I think it's a waste of taxpayers' money, just like the money going for the Department of Commerce, the Internal Revenue Service, Department of Energy, and Department of Education. Joe DioGuardi is a real fiscal conservative. We would have gotten rid of those programs.
Do you think that the way that, I mean, the National Endowment for the Arts has a lot of programs that people have grown up in, and the arts are important to our society. Do you think it should be privatized?
Absolutely. The arts are very important to our society, and you hit the nail on the head, Terrence. There's no reason that we can't get the private sector to fund that. Let government do what government is best at doing. Let them protect the United States of America. Let them look at the environment. The things that the states can't do, national security, the environment, and some other programs, the government, the federal government should be there. But what the private sector can do and local government can do, let the federal government get out of.
But on the contract with America, on most of those issues, she voted with the Republican House. She voted to balance the budget. She voted to decrease taxes, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, she voted with the Speaker of the House most of the time.
She got a 90% rating. Most freshman Republicans got 100%. Who wouldn't vote for something called a contract with America? Joe DioGuardi was there in 1985, 6, 7, and 8 while we were putting this together as members of the minority party. The Republicans didn't control that.
Yes.
So that's easy to do. But she wears this fig leaf called a contract with America and tries to ordain herself as a conservative. She was rebuked 53-1 by the Conservative Party of New York State. She didn't get the conservative endorsement from Dutchess County. She didn't get the conservative endorsement from Orange County. And when the state executive committee met, she was rejected and rebuked as a liberal 53-1. I would say that's earth-shaking.
Okay, we have to take a break, and we'll talk more about this race when we get back. Stay with us. We've just gotten started. Welcome back. We're talking to Joe DioGuardi, and I do want to say we invited Congresswoman Sue Kelly to debate Mr. DioGuardi. They did not accept our offer. We offered it a couple times, so that's why we only have the one candidate on. So let me talk to you about a primary. A lot of voters don't even realize that there is a primary out there September 10th of this month. That's a Tuesday. And why they're important. I know that in the last primary, in 1994, Congresswoman Kelly got like 5,000-something votes. You got about 5,000 low number. And then
I came in second,
right,
a few hundred votes behind her.
Right, and then Glenn Warren came in with like 4,000 high nines. Right. Paul Buca got like 4,000 votes.
Very confused.
Do you think? I mean, do you think that the primary? I mean, are the Warren and the DioGuardi and the Buca camp going to coalesce together, or I mean, what do you think is going to happen in this race?
Well, what happened in 1994 was 6 rather conservative men slugged it out, and a liberal, the liberal congresswoman went through the middle with 23%. Now in New York State, we don't have a runoff. I won the conservative primary. She wasn't even in that. It was just me, Mr. Bucher, and Mr. Parisi, and I won the Right to Life line. But on the Republican line, I came in number 2 out of the 7, and you had to be on the Republican line in George Pataki's home district in order to win. Yeah. So she kind of lucked out because there was no runoff, and 23% allowed her to claim the line.
But she was an unknown then. Now she's more known. She'll obviously take some of those votes.
Yeah, but she's not going to take most of the votes that went to Glenn Warren, Paul Bucher, and some of the others, because they were real conservative, pro-life people who believed in traditional family values, as I do, and they just cannot vote for Sue Kelly, certainly not after her vote for that horrific late-term, 8th, 9th month abortion procedure called a partial birth abortion, where the only one that benefits is the doctor, because he can't be accused of murder, he can't be sued, he gets paid, but the woman, her fertility is at risk, her life's at risk, and obviously the baby is executed. So we've got a procedure here that only 12 Republicans in the House supported with Bill Clinton, and Sue Kelly, the representative of this district, is one of those 12.
Yeah, she says that she's doing it for medical reasons, that she supports it because she wants to save the life of a mother.
That's nonsense, because they put that exception in the bill, the life of the mother. She still voted with Bill Clinton.
Are the people coming out based on that issue?
I think that's one of the issues, but there are other issues. What about taxes and jobs? People in this district are hurting in their pocketbooks. They're hurting because they've seen the downsizing. They felt the downsizing in their families, in their neighborhoods. IBM has closed some plants in Fishkill, in Poughkeepsie. AT&T and 9X has downsized in Westchester County. GM has just closed in North Tarrytown. These are all in the 19th Congressional District. Where is Sue Kelly? I formed a task force for New York. It was the New York Port Rail and Industrial Task Force. I'm going to do something similar for the Hudson Valley. I've shown that I can bring people from both sides of the aisle across the table with the politicians, with the unions, and the business community, and build the infrastructure to rebuild and promote the infrastructure that's needed along the waterfront to do this.
Let me ask you a question about that, because it's kind of interesting. You have some union support, and you have had in the past. Usually they vote for Democratic candidates. You also have some environmental support, which is kind of interesting, because a lot of times they vote for Democratic candidates. How are you able to get some union support, environmental support, the pro-life vote, and conservative fiscal vote?
Well, because I had a record as a congressman for 4 years. When I was in Congress, I worked very hard to clean up the Hudson River. I formed the Hudson River Task Force to clean up the PCBs, and the Long Island Sound Caucus to clean up the stagnation, the low oxygen in the water, and now we see that body recovering, and people remember that.
But, I mean, are those voters, this is what I'm trying to get out to in a primary, how do you know that people are even going to come out? Do even people know that there's a primary?
Okay. It's a numbers game, and the key to the whole primary is who will get their message to that small group, that relatively small group of Republican voters. We have 120,000 registered Republicans.
And about, what, 25,000?
Probably 20,000 will come out to vote. That's what's going on right now with phone banks, with direct mail, with door-to-door, with standing outside of churches on Sunday. Who does the better job in the last 3 weeks, especially the last 10 days when people come back from Labor Day, is likely to be the winner. And I think my campaign has been energized to do that.
When you just got some endorsements, I know there was a fax that came over from some of the police agencies in your district. Can you explain how that happened?
Well, before we talk about the police, let's talk about the veterans, because I was invited on, and I'm a veteran, a Vietnam-era vet. I served active duty. Fortunately, I didn't go to Vietnam in 1963, but I served active duty on Fort Dix. But I was honored to be invited by the veterans groups to speak on the mall just outside the Capitol building on Saturday. And I did something just this past Saturday. Paul Bucher was there. He's the president of the Congressional Medal of Honor Association. But
Why do you think that they picked you?
Well, they know that Joe DioGuardi has not forgotten the veterans. And they know that Ham Fish and Joe DioGuardi worked very close together when we were congressmen. Sue Kelly has abandoned the veterans. She voted to cut the beds at Castle Point. There are 450. According to her votes, 400 of those beds would be at risk. But let me do something before we go any further, because when it comes to veterans, I've got my congressional pin from the 99th Congress on, and I'm kind of ashamed of this pin because of what the Republican Congress is doing to veterans, including Sue Kelly. So I'm going to take this pin off, and I'm going to replace it with my veterans pin, because I think it's important for people to know that the veterans risked their lives to keep this country free, to keep it from being enslaved by others. Pericles himself.
Obviously, if this was a newspaper interview, this wouldn't work too well.
It wouldn't work, but on TV, I think it does.
Okay.
But Pericles himself, 2,500 years ago, when he eulogized a fallen soldier in ancient Greece, said that the highest honor, the highest level of service, are those who protect the freedom and democracy of their country. And it's a hallmark of a civilized society to praise and keep those people at the top. I think, conversely, in America, if we are disrespecting our veterans, and we're doing that, we are starting to lose the greatness of America. We're starting to lose its goodness, and I think we begin to question how civilized we really are. Joe DioGuardi, like Hamilton Fish, our late and great congressman, will stand very tall for the veterans. You can be sure of that.
What about the police? You got some endorsements there?
Well, yes, I'm very proud to say that last week I was endorsed by the United Police Public Affairs Committee. I was endorsed by the Police Emerald Society of Westchester County, the Police Columbia Organization, and the Police Pulaski Association, the Fraternal Order of New York State Troopers, and the Westchester Superior Court Officers Association, and just on last Friday, at a dinner hosted by the Italian-American community for my benefit, the former district attorney of Westchester County, Carl Vigari, Mr. Clean himself, endorsed me and said that Joe DioGuardi stands for the highest standards of character and integrity, and I thought that was wonderful.
Why do you feel that they came out and gave you those endorsements? I mean, Congresswoman Kelly stands up for tough crime laws, right?
Well, you know, Congresswoman Kelly flip-flopped quite a bit on several things, but let me remind you of one. When she ran in 1994 and she came out with a 10-point crime program, she said that she would vote for the ban on assault weapons. When the NRA put $12,900 in her palm, she voted against the ban, and the police do not like that.
So you feel that she changed her position on that?
Absolutely, and they know that.
Let me ask you something about the whole political makeup, because this campaign has had, we've got a lot of information coming in. The Kelly campaign has accused you of using your office.
This is a ridiculous nonsense issue.
Let me just go. Using your office through the campaign the last time, and they say that you're not supposed to be able to do that. Can you respond to that? Using your campaign headquarters.
This is another example of Sue Kelly and her campaign throwing mud, because she's the one with things to hide.
Well, address that first, and then we're going to...
I mean, I am a certified public accountant. I know how to use an office for a foundation and for a campaign. Our campaign started on December 27th, 1995. That's when I became an official candidate, and we started using that office. Before that, the office was used as my personal office for my foundation, and this is America. I can use any place I want to do what I want as a citizen.
So why are they making that an issue?
Because they're trying to confuse the public. They're trying to fool the people. They feel if they keep throwing these baseless allegations around and get some headlines, some of them may stick, it's not going to work.
Okay. Let me ask you about this situation on the Right to Life line. We have some information. There were some newspaper articles out saying that the Kelly campaign actually went to some people under false pretense, got them to sign a petition saying they were challenging your Right to Life petitions, and then the young girl, who was a 19-year-old girl from Millbrook, said, I didn't know what I was signing. Someone came up to me and said I was signing just to re-register to vote.
There's another good reason for Sue Kelly not to debate, because she knows I would raise that issue in an open debate. How could someone from her staff dupe a 19-year-old woman into signing a paper and not telling them what that paper was? Kristen Audia was interviewed by Tom Anderson at Gannett, and he asked her, why did you sign this petition against Joe DioGuardi's Right to Life line, or the Right to Life petitions? She said, I didn't do that. I signed something that my boyfriend, who works for Sue Kelly, gave me, but I thought it was some kind of voter registration. Now, that's a felony, because those papers that she signed were put in the mail and sent to Albany. So that's mail fraud. This is what the U.S. Attorney and the Federal Election Commission and some of the local DAs should be investigating, and this is why Sue Kelly doesn't want to debate.
Why would she do that, knowing, I mean, she's not, she knows you're going to have the Right to Life line. She's not going to get through. I mean, she claims to be pro-choice.
Could be arrogance, could be incompetence. It could be that she thought she would be able to get me off all the lines in September, so I would not have to debate her with the Democrat. If the three of us survive at that point, I expect to win. But we could have a situation where the three of us, since I'm on the Right to Life line and I'm on the conservative line, even though there's some legal technicality, which is, again, nonsense, I think she thought that since she didn't want to debate now, if she could eliminate Joe DioGuardi altogether in September, she wouldn't have to debate me then. Well, I got news for Sue Kelly. She's going to face me either now or later.
Okay, we have to take a break. We'll talk more about this race when we get back. Stay with us, please. Welcome back. We're talking to Joe DioGuardi, and we do want to tell those of you who just joined us that we did invite Congresswoman Sue Kelly to come debate Mr. DioGuardi. They weren't able to work that out. We asked them a couple of times. They still didn't feel to come here and debate, so we're debating nobody. We're just having a conversation.
Still running and still hiding.
On the taxes, you started bringing up the taxes. I want to talk first about the issue of taxes as a campaign issue. she wants to cut taxes. You want to cut taxes? I mean, that's a big issue in the 19th District.
And Senator Dole and Jack Kemp have just announced a 15% across-the-board tax cut and a 14% capital gains tax. I would even reduce that to 10%. There's no question that we've got to cut taxes on the middle class. There's no question that money does better in your pockets than the government's, because when you send it down to Washington, too much sticks to the hands, and it doesn't come back here the way it should. So my feeling is that we've got to go back to the reasoning which suggests that bureaucracy shouldn't get your tax dollars. But the other issue of taxes is, how can Sue Kelly say she's going to cut your taxes when she doesn't pay any herself? In 1994, it was 3 days before the November election that she finally put out her tax returns for 1990, 91, 92, and 93. That was 2 months after I put out mine. And guess what we find? She paid no federal income taxes. Now we're asking her, because I just put mine out, to put her 1994 and 1995 tax returns on, and we can't find her. Another reason for Sue Kelly to avoid debates.
Why would she? I mean, some people don't pay taxes for a number of years for a lot of reasons, and then they have to, you know, they have to make it up.
4 years is pretty consistent, and when you look at her disclosure...
Why would she not pay taxes?
Well, look at her disclosure. She's a multi-millionaire. Her assets keep going up. Her income keeps going up. She's got 4 pages of marketable securities, hardly the middle class, but she pays no federal income taxes. I think that deserves an explanation.
But how could that be? How does one not able to pay?
One can say that I've got real estate investments and they were losing money. But that's a contradiction when your assets keep going up and your income keeps going up. Could it be that the Kelly family has used some neat little loopholes that the other people in the district cannot use? I think we'd like to know this. Why can't this be debated? That's what the debate's all about.
Why? I'm getting so many, I mean, you know, I've gotten faxes from your camp about those issues. They've been faxing us about, you know, the issue I brought up before. Are those issues, I mean, are people tuning into those issues?
Absolutely. The people in this district are very concerned about the level of taxation. Real estate taxes, school taxes,
I mean the other
village
issues.
taxes,
I know
city taxes, state taxes, and federal. When they find out that their representative is so insensitive about their tax burden that she uses loopholes to eliminate her federal income tax totally, I think they're concerned.
And what about the other issues, about the right to life, you know, using false pretense to get people to sign it, and your own, you know, using the office? Are those issues that people think about?
I think that the people think about all these issues, but they probably put the economic issues of taxes and jobs at the top of the fiscal list, and they probably put the issue of partial birth abortions on the top of the social list.
Why do you think the partial birth, we have 2 minutes now, so you have to do this in about a minute now.
Sure.
Why do you think the partial birth abortion is the top of the social list?
Well, let me quote a Democrat. It was our Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who said that this horrific procedure is infanticide. He repeated what Cardinal O'Connor said. Now, Cardinal O'Connor believes this so much, he just disinvited Clinton from the Al Smith dinner.
And the Al Smith dinner, is it?
It's coming up, where the presidential candidates usually come.
They didn't invite him?
They didn't invite him. He's disinvited. So it's important. Let me also say that what's important also is the police endorsements we mentioned before. And this Wednesday, I'll be with Detective Stephen McDonald, who you saw at the convention, the quadriplegic, the hero, where he's already endorsed me. He's coming out to endorse me again with all these police groups.
Why does he, 10 seconds, we have to go. Why is he endorsing you?
Because he knows Joe DioGuardi is tough on crime, and he knows I wouldn't flip-flop on an important issue such as the ban on assault weapons.
Okay, we have to go. Thanks for being here. We have to say goodbye. September 10th, Tuesday, mark your calendars, the Republican primary. Until then, all of us here want to say goodnight. I'm Terrence Michos. Have a great night.